Good morning.
Good morning.
And as was just mentioned, it is an honor to be here with you. You honor me. In my adult life, have found that being here with you brings great meaning to my life. While you and yourself may have other considerations for your being here, it is our united effort in our communication that brings out the better in us. It's always there, but we don't always have the opportunity to bring it forth, nor are we always in company of those who stimulate that because of their own living, their sense of self. Now, today has to do with a self, an infinite self. A self that is always there with us, and it is there awaiting our recognition so that it can then come forth through our recognition of it. We tend to live based upon what we have learned, and much of our learning has revealed an incompleteness, so hence a lot of us feel incomplete. And we try to accomplish success through the tools that have been stressed as being valuable and important. One of those, of course, is thought. It has even been brought to such a degree of saying, I think, therefore I am. You probably at one time or another have given that consideration and felt yourself rise above everybody else because you can think. Well, if you look at it, thought is a silent inner experience. We have no idea of what others are thinking, sometimes even to the wonderment of, are you thinking? But we discredit others who we feel are below us, and we then attribute that to the fact that they can't think. Well, what if we come to recognize that thought really is an incomplete expression? It has bits of information, but if we rely upon it solely, then we're really in a state of incompleteness ourselves. Okay, so let's just discard thought for the moment, push it off to the side, not to say that we can't use it and that it isn't valuable. But what if this infinite self really is asking us to come to a place of being able to live it here now? What does this mean? It means that you have to bypass thought and instead of trying to think everything out, practice being present. If you can practice being present, then you can become more aware of what is instead of what you think it is. You can even go to the place of realizing that thought often interferes with your ability to be present because you're always trying to think yourself and think the situation to a foregone conclusion. What if learning to be present really allows you to come forth with a sense of realization that all of this is quite other than what it seems to be? If we believe that what we are experiencing in 3D is the real deal, we're missing so much of what is there awaiting our recognition. Sometimes I think it is that we have to get to a point of slowing down our living life. When we slow down, then we can be more present with what is. Because much of our busyness has to do with our insecurities in trying to make things happen the way that we want to happen, or being concerned because they aren't happening the way we want them to happen. If we can slow down, then we can actually put ourselves in a position of being more present, to be able to allow this part of us that, let's call it our authentic self, who we really are, instead of who we think we are. We allow this to come forward because we've slowed down enough to where we don't have to rely so heavily upon our persona. If we bring ourselves present in this way, then we can allow space to occur between the thoughts that show up instead of feeling so desperate that we have to have the next thought to give us input as to what's going on. You see, sometimes what it is that we experience challenge. And when we do, we get torqued by it. We get upset. We get careless. And we start relying on reaction to give us the input that we need, or that we believe we need, in order to successfully, somehow or another, either defeat or render this challenge solvable. Well, you see, all of that involves something else that's a part of us that we are in the process of recognizing and then letting go. And that is our programmed self. We're a walking, talking bunch of programs. If you ever pay attention to yourself, you're going to notice you can readily recognize yourself. And that's because you live the same thing over and over and over again. You believe that that is who you are being, when the fact of the matter is, you're just being your belief self. You can slow this down to where you then open the door for something else. But something else, let's call it spontaneity. With all the things that you've learned, all the things that I've learned, I'll speak for myself, it's easier. With all the things that I've learned, with all the talents that I have, with all of the abilities, I have found that my life is not truly measured by that, but it is measured by my ability to be present and to shut up so that I can then hear whatever life has to say to me. If I'm so busy with the inner chatter and believing in what the inner chatter is saying, I miss out on what life has to give to me. Now, you might say that, well, look at your line of work. Well, that can be for any of us. But you see, I am fortunate in that I have learned to listen because I'm listening to what others have to say in what they want me to say or they want me to do. I have to shut up. I have found the value of silence. Because you see, the silence really is the place of magic where your infinite self can come forward. Because silence reveals the unformed. It is the domain of things that are yet to come to be. If you look at silence and you're able to be present with silence, then you can be present without having the need for relating to the past or without the need for creating the future. One of the contradictions that I think the New Age movement has is that it stresses the value and importance of creating your own life with the thoughts that you think. It even goes to the point of using affirmations as the cure-all, when the fact of the matter is, I know all of you have tried it, and it hasn't changed you a whole hell of a lot. Answer that. How many hundreds of dollars did you spend, only to now realize it? See, and I didn't charge you a penny. But it is how we think things are, and then we act upon our thoughts, and we miss the real value of what is being there and being shown to us. I don't know. Can you say that? I don't know. Well, sounds like you can. Now, can you say it often? See, if you can get into the habit of saying, I don't know, then you really can relax. Because you see, you do know, but it just hasn't shown up in your awareness yet. If you can, in yourself, be relaxed and say, I don't know, then you really do put yourself in a state of being more receptive to that magic that I was speaking to you about. See, our infinite self doesn't require us to beat our gums. If you're fortunate enough to have teeth between your gums, it doesn't even require your teeth chattering. But what it does is it makes itself available that if you are present and you are silent and you are not pretending and you're not making yourself be a pretender, then it can and it will shine through you. Higher self, infinite self, God self, source within. It doesn't matter what name you call it. It's all making reference to the same part of us that you are, that I am. That is coming forward at this time with the desire to live itself through us as we desire to live it in us. Now, notice how the world goes. The world goes in ways of distraction. One right after another after another. As a matter of fact, what I'm making reference to right now is called mindfulness. And for many, this is new. Mindfulness? That sounds cool. Let's get on board. But it's been around for thousands of years. And that is simply being present with no judgment whatsoever about what shows up. It's learning to be who you are without having to be anyone. So, this mindfulness, it seems to be like a path, or maybe a doorway, or perhaps crossing a threshold that allows you to enter into higher states of consciousness, higher states of awareness than what you normally experience in your day-to-day living. But you see, as you develop this capacity to listen, to be quiet, to be without the need to know everything all the time, then this comes forth in a way that helps you to actually experience a more fulfilled life. I remember when it was so important to me to come to California and to then, in being here, form a church and have this be a means and ways of expression. Back then, 35 years ago, I didn't see it at all like I'm seeing it now. And in that, I'm encouraging you to realize that what you know now, what you believe now, isn't necessarily going to remain true as you go on and live your life. And especially if you practice being present and you open yourself up to your infinite self, because it will show you things that you could never, ever have seen with the awareness that you have right now. And I'm not putting down your awareness, although I am. And if you can't handle that, well, too bad. Sometimes I can't handle it myself. Oh, I'm speaking about your awareness. Guys are getting really serious on this. Okay, just a few more things about being present with this, okay? Now, from all of this, you may have gathered, but just in case you didn't, let me bring it forward. You're not the thoughts you think. Okay? You're not the thoughts you think. But in this, you may start feeling an insecurity rising up in you because you have just amassed such an amount of energy in believing that you are a certain way, and now to hear that there's a possibility that you're not that way, that might leave you feeling like you aren't at all. But you see, here's the bottom line. You are, and you are enough. Now this comes about through an inner realization. But one of the things that I can remember years and years and years ago, it was during a pilgrimage, that Spirit came through and was bringing to everyone's attention individually and collectively, who you are is as a grain of sand, and that is enough. That is enough. So I can really easily, at the end of today, regardless of which way the wind blows, regardless of whether you approve of this or you disapprove, I can put my head down on the pillow and go to sleep with the attending realization, it's enough for me to be. And that what comes through me, comes through me. And if I am in alignment with it, then I feel good about me being me. And that is enough. Thank you for your attention.
For more information about the Metaphysical Church of Enlightenment or the Rodin Foundation, please go to our website at www.rodin.org. If you have been inspired by the revelations shared in these podcasts, please donate to the Rodin Foundation's ongoing efforts to help others help themselves at www.rodin.org/donate.